Is climbing the rankings after a successful weekend trip.
Women's lacrosse is off to an undefeated start to its season.
And the men's basketball team is seeking revenge in Westwood after a disappointing loss in January.
Happy Wednesday and welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Grace Schneider.
I'm Kasey Kazliner.
And I'm Terence Holton. It's been a busy week of USC sports, so let's jump right in. USC women's hoops keeps on eating W's as they continue to climb up the Pac-12 standings. The Trojans are now winners of 6 straight after a weekend sweep up in Oregon. An early 19-0 run helped USC down the Oregon Ducks Saturday 88-51, with Juju Watkins tallying yet another 30-point game. On Sunday, USC grinded out a tough 58-51 win over number 11 Oregon State, handing the Beavers their first home loss of the season despite shooting struggles from Watkins.
For us, this game was like what Lindsay said, it was very meaningful, and we wanted to come out here and get a sweep. That was our goal before we even stepped on our bus to even get on the fight here, and we just executed that.
Marshall racked up a whopping 17 rebounds against the Beavers, and after Sunday's win at Oregon State, the Trojans now have 5 ranked wins, 4 of which have come over current top 10 teams. The Trojans will have an opportunity to get 2 more ranked wins later this week against Colorado and Utah. Back on January 21st, USC fell at Colorado 63-59. Watkins fouled out with 6 minutes to go in a tight game, and the Trojans couldn't overcome a poor game from Marshall in addition to costly turnovers down the stretch. What is the recipe for success when it comes to the women's basketball team in beating Utah and Colorado?
Well, you mentioned the last Colorado game. Obviously, if Juju Watkins doesn't foul out, I think they're guaranteed to win that game. It came down to a missed layup by Mackenzie Forbes. You make that layup, it's possibly an overtime or a winning game for the Trojans. But against Utah last time, it was a fluke loss, I think. Losing by 20, that's just something that doesn't usually happen for them. It's a team that usually plays in a lot of close games. So I think for the Trojans, it's going to be utilizing Juju and, of course, hopefully having those kind of bench players or other players in the starting lineup to supplement her good games. I'm looking for a big game from Rhea Marshall, who's coming off a great weekend, and Mackenzie Forbes, of course, who's kind of been that second scoring option.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. Losing to those 2 teams was rough, but I think having that experience under their belt will be pretty beneficial. And like he said, Juju Watkins, if she keeps having these 30-point games like she did against Oregon, I think they're going to be in great shape. They just need to keep doing what they're doing. After a stellar performance against number 10 ranked Oregon State, I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not concerned, but Juju Watkins, astounding 6 for 32 from the field against Oregon State. She really needs to be able to be a consistent scorer. She's really struggled with efficiency, and I think if she can really pick up her scoring and do it efficiently against Utah and Colorado, then she'll be able to win this game.
I agree. I think the recipe for her has been get up as many shots as possible, and I think shooting percentage is not really the thing that she's focused on. It's really scoring. So I can see your argument in that respect, but I think as long as she's scoring, I don't really have an issue with her putting up those.
She did have 18. I'll agree with you there.
She did have 18 points, and I honestly, if she's putting up points, I think it's fine. But yeah, I think she definitely will want to work on, if she's putting up that many shots, try to get a lot more to get down.
Recovered by Gabby Marshall. Here comes Clark. How will she go for history? There it is! The all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball.
Keeping in the women's basketball spirit, we can't skip over Caitlin Clark's record-breaking night last Thursday. The 6-foot senior put up 49 and helped produce 76% of her team's points in Iowa's 106-89 win over Michigan, firmly securing her spot atop the NCAA women's college basketball scoring list. Beyond the women's record, though, Clark has set numerous other Iowa and NCAA records. She currently holds the Carver Hawkeye Arena record for points in a game with 49. She also currently sits at 6th all-time in assists, and she's the only D1 player with 3,000 career points and 1,000 career assists. Clark also leads D1 with 53 30-point games in her time at Iowa, and she's got 12 40-point games as well, another Division I record.
My favorite thing about playing AU with Caitlin was the competitive spirit she brought every day to practicing games. She always brought a lot of energy and made everyone around her better. I wasn't surprised at her breaking the record, but it's just a great accomplishment and I'm really proud of her.
My favorite thing about playing with Caitlin was probably that she always just made us laugh. She was a really, really good teammate. We're both point guards, so just watching her from the sideline, just looking at her reads and her seeing the floor really helped me as a player, and she just always made us laugh. She was fun to be around, and I mean, her breaking the record was unbelievable, but I wasn't surprised. I knew she was going to break that record.
It's pretty clear that no one was surprised by Caitlin breaking the women's scoring record, and now she's less than 100 points away from breaking Pistol Pete's all-time record. With all of her career accolades so far, is it safe to say that she can be considered the women's college basketball GOAT? What do you think, guys?
Well, I mean, I think my short answer would be yes, to call Caitlin Clark the GOAT of women's college basketball. But I want to throw another name out there that hasn't been talked about in recent years because she's now a star in the WNBA. But in college basketball, Breanna Stewart at UConn was phenomenal. 4 national championships, 2 undefeated seasons, 2-time most outstanding player awards. She led that team. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And look, I know Caitlin Clark is kind of building towards that GOAT status, but 4 national championships is something for me that puts you in the GOAT conversation, the GOAT status. So I'm going to go with Breanna Stewart, but I can see the argument about Clark.
Well, if I was Caitlin Clark, I would be a little bit worried, and I'd be watching my back about USC's own Juju Watkins. She's only a freshman. She's come in, broken so many records. I genuinely believe that she could come in and surpass this record that Clark just set. So I would keep our eyes on her.
You know, guys, I'm going to play the hypothetical game. Sabrina Ionescu was a part of what would have been the best college basketball team of all time in the 2019-20 Oregon Ducks. That team beat the U.S. women's national basketball team, and if COVID had not canceled their season, I truly think they would have dominated March Madness with Sabrina as their best player. When I'm taking the best player on the best team, that's Sabrina Ionescu, not Caitlin Clark. Cam, what about you? What do you think?
Well, you guys, first of all, I want to say to Kasey's point, Stewie, an amazing college basketball player, and obviously she's dominated in the WNBA. But if you look at the team that was surrounding her at the time, she's got one of the greatest women's college basketball coaches of all time at UConn, and just in general, like the people around her were all literally 5-star recruits. I can't, you compare that to at Iowa, and Caitlin does not have that. She's got a lot of people who just are essentially just don't have the same skill as the people that I've seen at other places. And with Sabrina, I mean, obviously, she kind of came on the same level as Caitlin, where, people kind of said, she's the GOAT. She broke the scoring record last, and then, Kelsey Plum did, but Sabrina's also really high up there in a lot of those things. And then Juju Watkins, absolutely. I mean, my only argument to that one is that she's a freshman. She's got tons of time left, and so I guess we'll have to see about that one. But for now, number 4 Iowa takes on number 14 Indiana on the road tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific. Back to you guys.
USC football is undergoing a defensive makeover with an all-new powerhouse coaching staff. The Trojans are looking to unleash a new era of defensive dominance with this impressive lineup.
What is the standard? This is a championship caliber program or has the vision to be one. Well, then we need to start holding our kids to championship habits on the practice field, in the classroom. The kids that are late, you have a lot of kids that miss things. Well, guess what? You're going to miss that third and short. We need to continue to hold our kids accountable to what USC football standard is.
During a press conference last Thursday, USC introduced their star-studded defensive staff featuring defensive coordinator Danton Lynn, defensive coach Eric Henderson, linebacker coach Matt Entz, and secondary coach Doug Belk. Lincoln Riley's dream list of defensive hires includes highly decorated coaches. Keep an eye on the Trojans as they gear up for this next season under this new defensive leadership.
Next season, the college football playoff will expand to 12 teams, and now there will be even more changes to come into college football. The College Football Board has unanimously voted to move the playoff format to a 5-7 model. The new playoff format will give 5 automatic bids to the highest-ranked conference champions. The 5th-ranked champion will not receive a bye, but is guaranteed a spot in the tournament. The first-round games will be held at the home stadium, and all games after round 1 will be played at the traditional New Year's Six Bowls. So how is this format going to help or hurt college football?
Well, I think that not only will this help college football, I think it's necessary for the sport. We've seen year after year qualified teams being left out of this flawed 4-team layout. Most recently, Florida State University, who was an undefeated team, they won their Power 5 conference championship. Despite injuries, that is a different argument. They deserved a chance to try to play. But it was all subjectively decided due to the committee's decision based on the eye test, whatever that means. So I'm excited to see what this new 12-team layout looks like, and hopefully it's the change that college football desperately needs.
I agree. I think it's going to make it a much more competitive landscape. It's going to bring exposure to more teams that normally wouldn't get a chance in the college football playoff. We saw this year Washington get in, a team that normally wouldn't make it. They had a drought of close to a decade, and I think bringing exposure to these conferences that aren't just the SEC or the Big 12 is really, really good for the sport, and I agree with Grace. Florida State not getting in was detrimental, and I think adding in these more teams will be very, very good. I think, obviously, it's less exclusive now, so it's much easier to get in, but I think now, winning your conference has a lot more weight, so I'm very excited for what's to come with the 12-team format.
I agree with both of you. I think it is a lot better for the sport, and I think especially for USC alone, it will really help the Trojans get in, especially where this program is at right now. I will say, the one issue I have with it, it's going to allow the group of 5 teams to now make it, such as teams like Tulane, Liberty. We saw this year, Liberty was smacked around by Oregon when they made a New Year's Six Bowl because they had that automatic bid. I'm just worried that whoever gets to play, such as Liberty, who plays an easy schedule, they don't even play a Power 5 team next year. If they play an easy schedule and automatically get a bye or make it in easily, it's just a first-round bye for someone like Florida State, who maybe didn't win their conference, but is still really good.
I guess we'll have to see next time around, but USC men's basketball has lost 9 of its last 11 games, with most recently falling to Colorado last Saturday. The Trojans led by as many as 16 points in the second half before their lead dwindled away. The Buffaloes forced overtime thanks to a late dunk by guard Luke O'Brien and eventually won in double overtime as Boogie Ellis's game-tying prayer was blocked. Colorado won 92-89 despite a season-high 30-point performance from Ellis. Guard Isaiah Collier also posted 25 points for the Trojans in the effort. Guard Bronny James only had 2 points in the loss and is still yet to find a groove at the college level. Despite his underwhelming start, the Los Angeles Lakers are reportedly open to drafting him, according to The Athletic. During the NBA All-Star festivities last weekend, James' father, LeBron James, said that the choice would be up to Bronny.
It's up to him. It's up to the kid. Obviously, we're going to go through the whole process. He's still in season now, has a Pac-12 tournament coming up. And then we're
heartbreaker last night.
Yeah, heartbreaker last night in overtime. Heartbreaker last night in overtime. We're going to weigh all options, and we're going to let the kid make the decision if he wants to.
I know it's not financial, so let's.
It's definitely not financial.
Let's go ahead.
So we've seen a good amount of Bronny this season in small numbers. Do we think he's ready for the NBA at this level?
Well, I think he's obviously had some setbacks this year. He had a cardiac arrest, took him out of 8 games. But even if that's the case, he's still not a starter, and he's only averaging 5.7 points per game. So I think this could be a blessing in disguise for Bronny, because with some of the more experienced players like Boogie Ellis, like Kobe Johnson, potentially declaring for the draft next year or seasons to come, he could be that seasoned player, that leader, and that can give him that experience that could help him propel him to the next level.
Well, Grace is right. He did miss 8 games from the heart attack he suffered earlier in the summer. Absolutely, he is not ready. He can't score for himself, and when he does it inefficiently. He does not score. He's a great on-ball defender, I'll give him that. He needs another year in college basketball, just definitively.
It's really hard to disagree with you guys. I think it's going to come down to this question. Does Bronny James want to be an NBA superstar, or does he just want to play with his dad? If he wants to just play with LeBron and have that cool story with the Lakers, I'd say, yeah, go to the draft, go to the NBA. But I agree with you guys. He does not look like a NBA caliber player. He looks timid out there, and it's not anything against his game. I think he has potential. He was a highly touted recruit for a reason. But I think for right now, he's got to develop his game under Enfield's system and work his way into the starting lineup full time and get some quality minutes at the collegiate level.
One thing, do you think he would have been as highly a touted recruit if he wasn't named LeBron James Jr.?
Probably not, but I think that's a really hard hypothetical. But I think his game alone is good. He's a good 3-and-D type of guard, but I think at the end of the day, he's not solidified himself as a top piece on the Trojans yet, and that's going to take time to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I think he has a lot of work to do. While it may be cool to see him play with LeBron, I don't think that's what's best.
Well, let's go to Crash Collier for some men's volleyball action now.
Last week, the Trojans played Concordia University Irvine twice and won both matches. The Trojans swept the Golden Eagles last Wednesday before grinding out a gritty 5-set win at Galen Center on Friday night. Sophomore outside hitter Dylan Klein and redshirt junior opposite Jack Duker led the way for the Trojans, each totaling 32 kills over the two matches. Duker was named the MPSF Offensive Player of the Week for his contributions to the Trojans' victories. With the wins over CUI, USC is now 2-0 in MPSF play and tied with UCLA and Grand Canyon University for first place. This week, the Trojans head out to the desert for two matches against Grand Canyon on Friday and Saturday. The Lopes are currently number 2 in the latest AVCA coaches poll with an overall record of 11-0. Redshirt senior opposite Cam Dingiani leads GCU in kills on the season. Now, let's go back to the desk to break down round 2 of the men's basketball Crosstown Showdown.
Men's basketball may be in a slump, but the second edition of the Crosstown Showdown is on the horizon. Let's take a look at some of the Bruins stars this season. It's time to meet the opponent. Sophomore guard Dylan Andrews posted 20 points against the Trojans last time around and has been a consistent double-digit scorer ever since. In addition to his scoring ability, Andrews connects with his teammates with ease, and he isn't afraid to pull up from beyond the arc. On a UCLA team that is deep at the guard position, Andrews' versatility and ability to create space makes him very dangerous. After only scoring 3.3 points per game in his freshman season, Andrews has broken out, starting in all of the Bruins games and averaging 11.4 points.
Keep your eye on junior guard Lazar Stefanovic. As a transfer from Utah, Stefanovic has made a statement with the Bruins this season, averaging 11 points and 6 rebounds per game. Stefanovic put up 17 points against USC, and this past Sunday, he scored his season-high 19 points against the Utes. Stefanovic is on fire right now, and if the Trojans want to contain him, they need to watch out for him behind the arc to challenge his three-point attempts.
The Bruins sophomore center Adem Bona is a force to be reckoned with. Against the Trojans last time around, Bona had a double-double with 10 points and 10 rebounds. Averaging around 12 points and 6 rebounds a game, Bona has been a constant for the Bruins, providing an extra layer of defense for UCLA in the paint. At 6'10", 245, Bona serves as an intimidating presence to any who dare attempt a layup in the lane. The Trojans will need to find a way to limit these three if they have any hope for winning come Saturday. Coming up next, see how USC baseball fared in its opening series down in Arizona last weekend.
And the PGA Tour came to Los Angeles last week for the Genesis Invitational at the Riviera Country Club. We'll recap what happened over a dramatic 4 rounds.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latine voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all. Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dime la Hora.
Radio and podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy o LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latina-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
There's a new pet.
Chia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. It's fun and easy. Soak your chia, spread the seeds, keep it watered, and watch it grow. And now grow a whole collection of fun with Chia teddy bears, puppies, kittens, rams, bulls. There's even a Chia tree to keep your pets company. Chia Pets and Trees, the pottery that grows.
The Chia Pet and Chia Tree are available at Kmart, Rite Aid, Ames, and Woolworth. Makes a great gift.
USC baseball lost all 3 of its games at the MLB Desert Invitational, including 2 games that were blowouts. As a team, the Trojans were a lackluster 12 for 94 at the plate and couldn't get their offense rolling in any of the games. USC's first 2 against BYU and Grand Canyon both culminated in 8-1 losses. Against Ohio State, the Trojans put up 2 runs in the 4th before allowing 5 unanswered runs, ending in a 5-2 loss to the Buckeyes. On the bright side, though, catcher Jacob Galloway had himself a nice weekend. The sophomore launched the Trojans' first home run of the season and consistently reached base over the course of the 3-game set. His 1.409 OPS and .455 batting average look very promising. The Trojans will seek their first win of the season against the LMU Lions today at 6:30 p.m. at Page Stadium.
Last weekend, Pickle Coleman attended the Genesis Invitational. She's in the studio to break down the big event. To you, Pickle.
Thanks, Grace. So this weekend, Hideki Matsuyama made history when he took home his 9th PGA Tour win at the Genesis Invitational. Matsuyama won by 3 strokes and broke Riviera's final round record by going 9 under to shoot 62. This 9th win put him ahead of KJ Choi for most wins by an Asian-born golfer. The tournament was highly anticipated, being hosted by Tiger Woods, who was also in the field before he had to withdraw for health reasons after the second day. So, going into the final day, Matsuyama was tied for 7th and behind by 6 strokes. Patrick Cantley was leading the tournament for 54 holes and was leading by 2 strokes going into the final round. He was paired with his close friend Xander Schauffele in the final rounds, and in his gallery was familiar topic on this show, Lincoln Riley. But the two did have their worst rounds of the tournament on the final day. Cantley only hit 4 fairways and didn't get a birdie till the 11th hole to end with a 72, while Schauffele had a 70. The two both ended tied for 4th. And another big topic of the tournament was Will Zalatoris, who underwent back surgery just last year. He had a hole-in-one in the second round and was tied for 2nd place with Schauffele going into the final round, which is where he ended up in the end. Matsuyama had not even had a top 10 finish in 20 straight tournaments. His odds to win going into Genesis were 80-1 and 125-1 entering the final round due to the fact that he was 6 strokes behind. When he sunk in his final putt on 18, even though there were 3 groups after him, he was leading by 3, and everyone around the green knew that this was going to be their winner. So, in the press conference after the win, Matsuyama shared how he had a long-time goal of winning this tournament, and that goal became even bigger when Tiger Woods was announced as the host. But for now, we're going to go back to Grace to hear about USC lacrosse.
Thanks, Pickle. The women's lacrosse team captured their first home W on Saturday with a 15-6 win over Hofstra, improving their record to 0-3. The Trojans were dominant on offense with 15 goals, 7 of which came in the second quarter. Senior Ella Henley had yet another notable game with 2 goals and 2 assists, and senior Shelby Tilton dominated the crease with 4 goals. As the Trojans head into their bulk of the season, they play number 6 Michigan on Saturday and head east to Baltimore to take on Towson and John Hopkins. The Trojans' matchup on Saturday will be their toughest yet, as they look to get their 2nd-ranked win of the season.
Will Carmardella and Thomas Johnson are here, and they're ready to bait their Trojans of the Week.
Will is back from his short hiatus. He's ready to lose in a Trojan of the Week debate. Team Thomas is stacking up pretty well, and we're going to add a USC record holder this week in Johnny Brackens Jr. of men's track and field. Brackens Jr. won the U.S. indoor long jump title as he had a personal and USC best 8.23 meter jump at the USA Track and Field Indoor Championships. And now he's up to 2nd on the NCAA indoor record list. Look at that man fly.
Yeah, way to come out swinging, Thomas. For my pick, I'll head to the hardwood and take Rhea Marshall after a great weekend in Oregon. In weekend matchups against Oregon and Oregon State, Marshall dominated the boards while USC women's basketball won its 6th straight game. In the 2 matchups, she had a combined 29 rebounds and recorded a double-double in a tight win over the Beavers. All right, you're going back to another individual athlete. Make your case.
Well, he wins against the best of the best. As a freshman, won the Big 12 at Baylor. Last year, won the Pac-12, and now he's winning a national championship title in the long jump arena. He just wins against the best of the best.
You want to talk about winning against the best of the best? Let's talk about what Rhea Marshall did against Oregon State. 11 points and a whopping 17 rebounds, 5 on the offensive glass against an outstanding Oregon State team that had not won at home.
And an outstanding Oregon State team without their leading scorer and without their leading rebounder in Reagan Beers. Great game by Rhea Marshall, but she was not their leading scorer, and Oregon State didn't have their best rebounder in the game.
Yeah, guess what? Didn't bother them against UCLA, another top 10 team that they were able to beat, yet USC rolls in there in a very tough environment and win, and it's all about Marshall in this game because it was a game where Juju Watkins shot the ball very inefficiently. It was not a good shooting from the field night for the Trojans. You know what helps with that? Offensive rebounds. She had 5 of them. And another point here, you always take the individual athletes, but in this specific case, the event he was competing again, he was competing as an individual. He was representing USC.
Yeah, representing USC.
But I am taking someone who benefited for team success, contributed to team success. I'm all about the team, Thomas.
He's winning for the team. Track and field is an individual event. He's representing USC. When he becomes an Olympian, and I think he will, his name will be on that USC Athletics website. I think that's all that matters when you come to USC. Getting your name on that website for track and field. But let's go back to Rhea Marshall. Against Oregon Friday night, because this is, remind you, Trojan of the week, not Trojan of the game. Trojan of the week, against Oregon, she only had 4 points. Of 88 points, she was not the leading rebounder in that game. Sure, she had a great game against Oregon State, but we're talking about Trojan of the week.
She still had double-digit rebounds in that game. She had 3 blocks, 2 steals, outstanding on the defensive side and all-around effort. Not to mention that was a night where USC scored 88. She didn't need to contribute because of how well they're shooting on the offensive side.
So you talk about how she's beating the best of the best, but she scored 4 points against an Oregon team that's bottom of the Pac-12. That's not beating the best of the best. Sure, Oregon State, without Reagan Beers, is a good team, but that's not the best of the best. Not even at the top of the Pac-12, Will. But for now, we'll send it back to the desk.
Next, we'll highlight the LA Kings playoff push. And the NBA All-Star Game was, well, controversial. We have ideas on how to fix it after the break.
It has been quite the week for you. Bonjour, je suis le grand musicien.
Je suis la jeune fille.
Yes, that's French they're speaking. And no, these children aren't French. They're American. And they've acquired their amazing new language skills from Muzzy, the remarkable new video language program for children developed by the British Broadcasting Corporation. With this unique BBC language course, children learn a second language with incredible ease. 4 delightful videos quickly become their favorite TV show and teaches children the same way they learned English. Learning another language becomes fun. You'll be amazed when your children begin speaking and understanding their new language from the very first day through this unique method. The entire course, 4 videos, 2 audio cassettes, the activity book, and the Parent's Guide and Answer book is available in French, Spanish, Italian, or German.
To order, use your credit card and call this number. We'll ship and charge you $28.08 a month for 6 months. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 1-800-424-0700.
Okay, this stuff is really amazing. I mean, I put it in my mouth and I taste watermelon, but it's not just that. I taste strawberry too, but it's kind of like a watermelon-y strawberry put together. Hey, hang on. Sorry about that. And the bubbles are really awesome. I mean, that's why they call it Max, I guess. Obviously, that sort of makes sense once you think about it. Oh, I'm Dan, and that's Chuck. Hubba Bubba Max. A whole new kind of bubble. Hey!
The Los Angeles Kings had a tough start to the new calendar year, but their current 4-game winning streak puts them in the thick of the Western Conference playoff picture at 66 points. LA has picked up some big wins recently that solidify them in the top wildcard spot. The call-up of defenseman Brant Clark was a wise decision for the Kings, as the 21-year-old scored his first career goal, the overtime winner against the Bruins. You can see him putting it in there. The Kings stand just 1 point behind the Oilers for the 3rd playoff spot in the Pacific and lead the wildcard race by 6 points. With plenty of season left, Los Angeles should use its recent momentum to its advantage and ride high into the playoffs. The firing of head coach Todd McClellan has paid off so far, so we'll see if the Kings can continue to win in big matchups. But now, we'll send it over to Will again to talk about the NBA All-Star events.
The NBA had what was supposed to be its signature midseason event on Sunday night, the All-Star Game. Millions of fans watched as the Eastern Conference broke the NBA scoring record in a 211-186 victory in Indiana. With the league's return to the traditional East vs. West format, the All-Stars showed next to no effort on the defensive side. Even Commissioner Adam Silver couldn't hide his dissatisfaction during the post-game trophy presentation.
To the Eastern Conference All-Stars, you scored the most points. Well, congratulations.
On Saturday night, the league put up a much better showing. Mac McClung won his second consecutive slam dunk contest, while 3 hometown players, Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, and Miles Turner, won the skills competition. As usual, the real highlight of the night was the three-point contest, when Dame Lillard took home his second straight title. In the Steph vs. Sabrina contest, Sabrina Ionescu's score was tied for the best in the regular contest, but it was not enough to take down Curry, who dropped 29 to claim the title of the world's best shooter. So here I am at the desk. Nice to see you guys. I'd like to congratulate the Eastern Conference All-Stars on their first win since 2014. And now I have to say, I hope it's their last win because I think the NBA needs to get rid of the All-Star game and just do the Saturday night. What do you guys think?
Well, look, I agree that the effort is low. It almost feels like they're just scrimmaging or playing pickup. But here's the thing. I think it's still a fun event for fans. I like the kind of the novelty of it, the jerseys, the location, the designated location, and all the players that wouldn't normally play together having the floor. So I like it in that regard. I also think being named an All-Star is really big for a player's career, and that can affect salaries and whatnot. So I think the All-Star game should stay intact. What do you guys think?
Over 200 points scored in a game is ridiculous, but I think the lack of defense is not just an all-star problem. I think it's an institutional problem with the NBA in general. I mean, when you're comparing it to college basketball, there's so much more passion on defense and offense as well. So, I mean, I agree with Kasey. I don't see the point of getting rid of the game. I think it brings in different viewers. It gets people to play against teams and with people that they normally wouldn't get the opportunity to. But again, I think it is an institutional problem.
I agree with those. I'm going to tell you exactly how the All-Star game can be fixed. Because of the traditional East versus West setting, I think the winner of the All-Star game should get home court advantage in the finals. That way, no matter how good the team is, how hypothetically a 6 seed makes the finals from the West, but if the West won the NBA All-Star game, then they should get a home court advantage.
Well, what you'd have to do if you wanted to do that is you'd have to get rid of fan voting, because there's no way you can allow the fans to have a say in who has home court advantage in the finals. So I don't think it works there. To be honest with you, I watched the game. It's basically just alley-oops. They already have a dunk contest and logo threes. It's just back and forth. And if you want to score a lot of points, just run down the court. They're not going to cover the paint. I'd much rather honestly see Dame Lillard and Steph Curry play horse from half court than continue to watch a 48-minute game.
Well, Terence, here's the problem with your proposition. The NBA All-Star lineups are very small, right? There's very few representatives. Many teams don't even get representatives. What if those teams were to go to the finals and the game would be in their home court advantage and fate would be decided by random players?
But most playoff teams have at least one All-Star, right? I mean,
we're thinking hypothetically, though. You never know. A team could make a run.
Of course, but I mean, when we're saying, I would be willing to bet that almost every single team in playoff contention right now has at least one All-Star. Actually, the Kings don't. I'm going to take that back. The Kings didn't.
Well, I think there's a lot that can be done in the front office and higher management with the NBA All-Star events, but that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for joining us, Will. That's all we have for today. From Annenberg Media, I'm Terence Holton.
I'm Kasey Kazliner.
And I'm Grace Schneider. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.